Meeting is now live streamed. So I believe we are live streaming right now. So welcome and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And we'll get started here. I guess I know we have quite a few joining online. If anyone else comes in, I'll make sure to get them in so that they may join us. But tonight, what we'll do, in lieu of going through board items on the agenda, we're going to start with the Assistant Superintendent's Report. And Dr. Perry, I believe you have at least 4, maybe 5 guests that maybe join us tonight. Do you want to? I'll hand it over to you.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. Good evening. So this evening, the first item under the Assistant Superintendent Report is an update on our Keystone exams. Those will be taking place in January, right as we return back from our holiday break. There have been some questions from the community regarding the expectations with our Conewago Valley Online Academy students, and those students will be testing with us here at the high school. The Lincoln's Edge students will be testing at the intermediate unit here on Beck Street in New Oxford. The second item from the Assistant Superintendent Report is to bring forth several new courses for discussion this evening. We also have 6 other courses that will be coming during our study session next week, 2 science classes and 4 English classes. This evening, we'll go ahead and get started. We've invited all of the curriculum leaders from each of the departments listed. So we'll begin with social studies with Katie Gingrich to talk to us about AP Human Geography.
So good evening, Katie, and welcome.
Hello.
So you are on live stream YouTube. You're famous now. So I have up on the screen for the Zoom the new course proposal for AP Human Geography. So I'll kind of let you take the reins here.
Okay. Dr. Bowman actually approached me about adding AP Human Geography. He was at I believe it was York Adams or just Adams County principals meeting, and he shared that it was a popular and successful course in other school districts, and he asked if we would have the ability or interest in running it. And we are actually already running Human Geography as one of our half-credit electives because one of our staff members had experience teaching Human Geography, and our department has had tremendous success with AP. So making that jump to AP Human Geography was something we were willing to take on. We would actually offer this class to students grades 9 through 12. We would encourage our 9th and 10th graders to take the course. We do feel it's an appropriate course for underclassmen. And then that would free up 11th and 12th grade to take some of our other electives or other electives within other departments. So that's kind of the rationale and who it would target. We would run it in a split period. So it'd be a full credit course running year long. We have found that that's the most successful time to run AP courses. We get to see our kids all year instead of just for a semester. And then we're not losing any instructional time before the AP test in May. We have some different prerequisites there depending upon grade level. We're using the same course prerequisites for our 9th graders that we're using for AP US history. And this is the first year we're running that course, but our instructor for that course really feels like we have the right students in that course. So we would keep with that same kind of equation to figure out which students we should be getting from the middle school. And then if you scroll down, we're just mirroring for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade our prereqs as well. Looking at the textbook, both of the textbooks options on there are the AP approved by the College Board. So we would choose one of them after our staff member attended the AP Summer Institute. We would kind of firm up that decision then. And then really when you look at the course description, I mean, I personally think it sounds like a very interesting course. It's really talking about being geoliterate, kind of understanding the worldview, understanding maps and kind of geospatial reasoning and where we fit into the world in terms of economics, cultural change, international migration. There's an element of pandemics and how that can impact the world economy and just the spread of humans. So that's the course description, and that's kind of how it would fit into our department. It would not replace one of the required social studies credits. It would be an elective. That's all I've got.
Okay. Very good.
All right. The next course is an art survey course for the Conewago Valley Online Academy. So we will invite Jeannie Plodica.
Oh, I need access to that.
I'll do that quickly. I'll go ahead and talk while I'm trying to give you access. This is an art survey course, and it would actually mirror our art appreciation course that we currently offer in the classroom. And we were looking for a course that would not build so strongly on the weeks before. So right now I'm teaching an online class, but you really need to take it in order so that you can follow what you learn. One week builds the next week, and you really can't skip through it. This would give students an option if they went out of the CVOA or back and forth. We would have another level 1 option for an elective for them. Rather than doing as much focused on project production, we'd be adding more of the critical process and art history. We cover that now and mix it in with kind of some hands-on opportunity, but we feel with all the drawing apps and the opportunities that the iPads provide for us to teach our students in a different way, we're really able to get them hands-on with the iPad and then just add the additional art history and the critical process. So it's really just building on something that we have, but giving the kids more opportunity to engage in an art learning opportunity.
Do we have the Apple pencils and or the drawing stylus to give the students?
We do not. And for the class that I'm teaching, it's not a requirement. It's a recommendation. Some students love them. I prefer using mine, but it is something. The $10 pencil that you can get online from Amazon works not just as well. Ideal. Apple Pencil is the granddaddy of all of them, but we allow students to sign out now from our classrooms, the Apple stylus. I will tell you that probably more than half of my art students have some type of stylus at this point in time.
Okay, if you need more, put something together that you know, you can give us an idea of what it would cost if we wanted to put a number together for students.
Okay.
We can do that, and that's I mean, between myself and Dr. Perry, we could definitely pull that together. And I know the Foundation for Education's, you know, that's another grant opportunity that we can definitely apply for through our foundation
Okay.
too.
I just thought Jeannie could do that in her spare time.
I got nothing going on. Actually, last year I got the grant from the foundation and another $10,000 grant. So we do have Apple Pencils in all the classes right now, but we use some of the money to get some of the cheaper ones. So the problem with the Apple Pencils is there's no way to track them. So if someone loses one, we're out $100. Whereas these metal $10 ones, they get it done. And there's actually a $30 one. You can look at all different ones, but I could put that together.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yep.
For the staffing need, is the one teacher, is that existing staff or is that additional staff?
That'd be existing. This course would go in line with, it would just depend on numbers. We could run it in line with the in-class course, or it would just depend on our numbers. Right now, our department, we have some staffing. Erica McLaughlin, she teaches in photo and in the art department. And I think eventually we'd like to have her back full-time. I don't know where that's going down the road, but we actually have 3 full-time art teachers. We're just kind of lending her out right now.
Okay, thank you.
All right, the next course is hospitality and tourism for the Conewago Valley Online Academy. We have Kim Johnson-Smith joining us this evening.
Hello, thank you for having me. We actually came up with this course idea because of another CVOA course we're offering this current school year, which is an FCS seminar And we thought that we could expand into the hospitality tourism genre. There's a lot of school districts that already offer it. And this would be a 10th to 12th grade course. And it would all be about hospitality, tourism, employee traits, communication, customer service, time management, pretty much everything that kids are currently doing if they work at a fast food restaurant, since that is a popular job for kids of this age. And we would also want to put in our Serve Safe. I've actually been talking to Dr. Perry for many months now about finding a course that students could take the Serve Safe certification and come out with that credential. And we would hopefully, possibly like to put this as part of our approved program for FCS. So that is what we would like to propose.
And she has on there 1 to 2 teachers.
So the question then comes back to, for those 1 to 2 teachers, is that something that you have or something that you will need?
We already have the teachers. This current school year, we are all pretty fully booked. I don't know how that will look next year. I'm sure no one knows how that will look with the pandemic and everything. I don't know if that could be something that someone teaches during the day or would get some additional money to do after school. That just kind of depends on how many kids pick it and how many kids pick our other courses. But we would not need to hire anyone new.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
No problem.
All right, we have 2 courses from Applied Technologies, Introduction to Precision Metal Manufacturing, and Materials and Manufacturing. With us this evening, we have Sean Myers joining us.
Good evening. The introduction to precision metal manufacturing we're proposing because with the welding curriculum now becoming a state approved program, kids can't start into that program until their junior year. So our introductory course is generally taken at 9th grade. So that kind of left us a gap for 10th grade. So we wanted to propose an option for students during their 10th grade year that allows them to continue on with some metalworking before they enter into the welding program. And it also kind of exposes them to some of the world of machining, which we don't really have an option for at this point. So this would be a good introduction to machining as well. And hopefully that begins to bolster the numbers in the machining program along there. So this, we could move a couple beginning NIM certifications into this course, which would allow kids, hopefully if they go through the machining track, to get a little bit further along with that, and then provide them with a basic introduction of machining, the mills, the drill presses, the lathes, and some of that precision measurement. As far as equipment, we already have the shop equipped with the machining that we've done and the welding lab, so we wouldn't need any new equipment. We should be able to staff it with our current staff that we have here.
Any questions from the board?
Nope. It's utilizing the new building.
Yes, it is. All right, materials and manufacturing, Mr. Myers.
The materials and manufacturing course we're looking at with the engineering approved program, we need this course to address some of the items on the task grid that we don't currently address. So this is an introduction to different manufacturing processes and materials. So we would need to be able to do some stress testing. We would need to work with some plastics and polymers, which we don't currently do. And so this is a course that's designed to address those items on the task grid. It's eventually the kids would then manufacture some product. So like they would mass produce something of their own design. We have the staffing to cover this. What we are currently looking at are some of the amateur trainers that work with plastic that would then kind of fill the void that we don't have with the plastic piece. As far as the metal, the wood, we have all of that. We would just need something to help us with the plastics piece of the course.
Now, is the amateur, if I recall, is the amateur stuff, is that through Allegheny?
That would be through Allegheny, yes.
Okay, so I know we have the contact there, and they've been pretty good to us, I believe, in the past in regards to gaining access to equipment, I believe.
Yeah, they're currently working on putting some things together for us. So we would have some numbers and some ideas of what that would look like.
Okay, very good.
Sean, is the expectation on this with drafting as the prerequisite that the students are going to design the plastic widget, I'll call it, and then build it?
Yeah, that's part of it. We decided that drafting should be a prerequisite for the engineering program itself, so that once they enter the program, we don't have to teach drafting, that then they can use that skill, like you said, then to do the actual design work. So that they
Okay.
can lay it out in CAD, and then we can 3D print, or we could use some other processes to produce it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and last but not least, we have two courses, Introduction to Statistics and Trigonometry. So the first course, Intro to Statistics, these two courses are replacement courses for pre-calculus. And Dr. Bowman is also on, so
Yep.
if he has anything to add, that's certainly acceptable.
Yeah, so when our math program looked at the scope and sequence of our 9 through 12, math options, recently they kind of looked at, is it the best for our kids? And one of the conversations they had was they thought they actually could separate what is now known as pre-calc into two separate courses. So they are looking at separating it into a truly trigonometry course, which will also allow them to dive a little bit deeper into those trig concepts, which is more of a college-based math anyway. And they wanted to have our students have the opportunity to have more trig early on, and then the calculus would come after that. So the calculus is still there as a math option. So we dive deeper into trig, and then also into calculus. So I'm trying to think of we had trigonometry and then the intro to stats. And Mr. Angelini was already offering stats, but it was truly based more at a level 3, level 4 student. So only our top level students were really getting the opportunity or the learning regarding our intro to stats course. So the math department, again, thought it would be best to expose more of our students, our level 2 students, which is part of our college prep track, to that content. A lot of them thought that, even the students that go to majors outside of math specific topics, business, for example, would benefit from the intro to stats course, even, if you go into a research field and so forth. So becoming more relevant to our kids as far as after graduation, those two courses are now added and should dive a little bit deeper into both of those topics, giving our students a more well-rounded math background, no matter what path they choose after graduation.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Bowman, why is it only a half credit?
So they're going to actually, as I said, it used to be one course, and so that used to run a full semester. So in order to dive deeper into two, they separated that into a half credit course. So it will run either, we'll see what works best, but right now they have it slotted for what we call a split period or a skinny. So similar to our AP courses, it'll run for a half of a 90-minute block for a semester rather than a full year. So they can double up stats and trigonometry if they want to, or they could take them separately. So it actually gives our students some more flexibility within their schedule with the half credit course to take some other half credit electives or even half credit content courses, which are now being added as part of the proposals you'll see both tonight and next Monday, for example, with science and English. So it interweaves. It's a little more complex than I probably could describe over Zoom. But out of all of the half credit options that they offer, Mr. Groff, it kind of plays into the puzzle it is the master schedule, but it gives them more flexibility. So it'll still dive into those topics, but it creates an opportunity for them to actually take some different courses at the same time.
All right, that sounds good.
To,
I just call it the other ones are full credits.
Go ahead, Mr. Kinshu.
I was just gonna ask, so statistics, is that an optional class then, or is that required?
So I don't know, Dr. Perry, do you have the access, or can you, whoever's sharing, is it possible for us to pull up the what is and what will be from math that we have in our November 2020 folder?
Sure.
Or, I mean, I guess I can pull it up if need be. One second, Dr. Rudisil.
Would that be in the course outline?
I can't remember the title of it. I'm sorry. I'm looking in my folder right now.
As they're looking for that, I will say, Mr. Kinshu, both, if you look at the textbook, CK12 is an online resource that we use that is completely free. That includes assessments, materials, everything is available through this CK12, and it allows our teachers to utilize it all for free. They just need to register with CK12 and become an instructor, and that allows them to proceed with everything.
Okay, yeah, no, my it's really just, is that required or not? Because I've seen, at least with my girls, they've ranged from, you know, medicine to research to hospitality, and statistics has been an option to fulfill a college math requirement in all three tracks, which are very different.
Yep. So here's the transition matrix coming up.
Thank you, Dr. Rudisil. So you can see above what is currently in place and moving forward with these new proposals, how it will work. So to answer your question, Mr. Kinshu, it's not required, but it then becomes an option.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. And we kind of tracked it out. Again, you can see based on kind of the pathways we're looking to create as we continue to evolve at the high school, with school to work, a 2-year trade school, 4-year non-math, meaning they go into a major that might not be math focused, and then a 4-year math focus.
Yeah, that looks good. Thank you.
Okay, and as Dr. Bowman mentioned and I mentioned, next Monday we'll be introducing 6 courses, 2 science and 4 English. That concludes the Assistant Superintendent report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Get back to here. All right. And for Katie and Sean and Kim, and Dr. Bowman and Jeannie, Mrs. Polonica, thank you so much for giving up some of your time this evening to join and present. I truly appreciate it, and thank you for all the hard work you guys have been doing to truly, I guess, up what we're doing at the high school to make sure that we're relevant and always meeting the needs of our students. So thank you very much.
Yes, there's some great courses here. I think it's a great job you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Mrs. Duncan, you're here tonight also. And so I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Duncan. One of the parts that I was going to present tonight was on where we're going with our budget for 2021, 2022. So Mrs. Duncan, the floor is yours. You may talk about budget if you wish.
Okay, what I wanted to do this evening is talk about the timeline and present to the board a proposal for the board to adopt a resolution not to raise the taxes above the index. What that means is we would still be able to raise taxes if we so choose or there's a need, but we would not be able to file for exceptions. What this would also do is it would give us more time and would give all the departments in the buildings and the principals more time to prepare a budget. Our timeline would be that we would present a proposed budget in April, and then in May, we would final approve a budget. I'm hoping to approve the budget before the teachers would be gone for the year, so then they know what's been approved and what things they have to work with. So I wanted to present that tonight. And what that means also is with the index going, if we would go to the index, that would give us, with the current assessment values, it would give us about $1.3 million. So that option I wanted to put out there. If we adopt that, we would just have a resolution, and then that would it would open up the time frame for the budget to be to give us a little bit more time, especially with everything going on. So that I wanted to present and present for discussion. I also wanted to let you know that we're moving forward with Skyward. The final data drops will be this week. We have trainings that we've been having. Payroll's been running on Skyward. We have a few more trainings, which will probably take us through December. So in the next meeting, I just want to present that we may have a few reports that will be missing, but as soon as we can get them, we will provide them. We'll have the check registers and the treasurer's report, those things. But some of the other reports, we're still pulling information and having the data. The data drop is due on the 5th, but then it'll take them about a week or two to work with that data to finish up everything they need to do on the financial side. So I just want to let you know that also. Are there any questions about the resolution, adopting a resolution to not go above the index?
No, I think that's something that, we normally stick to. So I would say, I don't see any reason why we would need to, unless this COVID really says something in the budget that you're not expecting.
Yeah, but I don't think even then we still.
Yeah, I mean, really the biggest thing by us signing this, we're just gonna say, look, we'll go no higher than whatever the index may be. Doesn't mean we have to go to the index, just means that we'll go no higher. In addition to that, even if we would qualify for some exceptions this year, whether it be special ed, whatever, we're not gonna take them. We're only gonna look at just what the index would be for taxes, and that's it. That eliminates us adding on to anything else. So.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, my concern would be the opposite, that, if we do sign the resolution, that we're bound to not exceed the index. So a couple things, unless you've got some guidance related to that come to mind, is state's going to be short on revenue because of COVID and the shutdowns. And then we've got charter costs that it's going to be the same thing that we faced last year, where they've increased exponentially. So are we binding ourselves by signing the resolution, and maybe it's exemptions that come out after this happens? I'm sure there's a timeline that we have to, adopt the resolution.
Yeah, there is a timeline. What I can do is I can look at, I'm almost positive the only exception will possibly qualify for is special ed. And I don't think that that's, I can try and run some numbers based on the years that they used last year. They usually move forward a year and they compare 2 years. So basically it takes 2 years, they compare the growth in the departments. So depending on the growth, there may not even be exceptions for us to take. The rate of the PSERS hasn't increased by the degrees that it had in the past. So when we're looking at last year, we didn't qualify for the PSERS because it went from like this year, we're going from 34.29 to 34.5. So it's not the jump that creates that gap, because it's not based on your salaries increasing. It's based on, they take a base salary amount and they just look at the rate change. So the rate change, I'm almost positive we will not qualify for PSERS. There won't be anything there. It would be just the special ed And I can take a closer look at some of the numbers and see if I can come up with what we may be available to us. Last year, we had a lot more available to us, but we did not use that. So I think that wave is gone. So it would look at comparing, I believe it would probably compare 17, 18, and 18, 19. And the increases, I don't think are going to be great enough to give us anything substantial. So that I can look at, and I can have something for Monday to present.
Okay, and I don't know if, if anybody in the Department of Education has a read on, the impact of the, less state revenue, which, it's probably logical that the state may not have funds, comparable to what we got last year in 2019, even
Right.
worse. And, from the charter standpoint, what we ended up with $1 million, $2 million, somewhere in there, increase in unexpected costs because of COVID. Right. So that's a bad combination, higher expenses and less revenue.
Right, I agree. I think that we also just need to be careful with the community and looking at also, sometimes the exceptions aren't looked upon very fondly. And this year we were not all of the districts raised taxes to the index, and I'm not sure what they'll be planning for next year. So I don't know how that would flow through to the community. And, we definitely need to, we're going to definitely need some more time to plan. But with the resolution, that gives us that extra additional time, and that helps out our building principals and helps out everyone to do a little bit better planning. If we need to put something together, I'm sure we can. But like I said, I can for Monday have, I'll call PD and try and get their base years so that I can try and do some calculations for that, to see if we qualify for any of the exceptions. If we don't qualify, then it's really no reason to not adopt the resolution.
Okay. Yeah, my only concern, I agree, plan to the
Lori?
index or less. But my concern is if we say we're not going to exceed the index and then some of these unknowns come into play in the spring or over the summer, we've maxed out by saying we're not going to exceed the index. That's the only concern.
Okay.
Pat, you had a question for Lori?
Yes, I wanted to know does she have an expectation what the index will be?
The index is 4% for this coming year, which it gives us about, like I said, about $1.3 million based on the current assessment, additional revenue for this.
And what was last year's index?
It was 3.5. It was 3.5% last year. So that means, what that means is when you have a tax rate, if it's 4%, then our current tax millage rate, 13.9209, you multiply that by 4%. So we can increase that rate by 4%. That would be the max of the index.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That resolution only for 1 year?
Yes.
For the
Yes,
Resolution for 1 year. Okay. Any other questions for Lori?
That 4% is on top of the 3.5% from last year.
No,
So
no. Well, last year the rate would have been, I forget what it was in 18, 19. Last year the rate was 13.4501. So then it was 3.5%. You multiply 3.5% times the 13.4501. That's how we for this year have the rate of 13.9209. So 4% on the it's 4% multiplied by the 13.9209.
Okay. So it's not a true 4%. It's not a 4% of what your taxes are.
No, like it doesn't mean everyone's taxes would go up 4%. It,
Right.
I think I did a calculation, and what it would mean to go to the index this year would mean $55.68 for every $100,000 value of a home.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Mrs. Duncan?
It's not gonna be an easy time again.
That's for sure. Well, thank you, Mrs. Duncan, for joining us tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Go hang out with that dog of yours. All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
Good night.
Getting back to our agenda, finances, we'll pay the bills as they come. And we'll also look at our monthly reimbursement voucher for school lunches. Nothing will change there. Ways and Means right now, we're going to recommend authorizing Kathleen Flumen and Caitlin Wilfong, used to be Fraser, she got married, to attend Wilson Reading System introductory course sponsored by the AIM Institute of Learning and Research on December 8th and 10th. It's going to be held virtually, with registration costs to be paid for with grant money in the amount not to exceed $1,930. That's also including 2 substitutes for the 3 days, if we can get substitutes. Right now, we have a fill rate of about 55% on a daily basis. We're also going to recommend authorizing Brittany McCoy and Brittany Moyer to attend the same WRC introductory course, sponsored by the LTR Tutoring Associates on November 10th through the 12th from 9 to 3. That will be held virtually at no cost to the district, except for the cost of 2 substitutes, which will be covered with grant money again that we will utilize. And then obviously next week we'll add additional items to those Ways and Means, and a lot of that will be the courses for approval by the board. Property and supplies, nothing. So Superintendent's Report. Give you an update on a few things here. First and foremost, return to instruction plan, CVIS. So as you were aware, last month we surveyed our community about a potential return to full-on face-to-face instruction for grades 4 through 6. The results of that were approximately 80% wanted to come back, 20% said we'd rather not. And so with that in mind, we did proceed to plan what a return might look like to CVIS. So what we did, and just pop down here in a second, back up. We created a frequently asked question kind of thing that we would send to the community along with the survey that we created. So when and if we return to daily instruction, what would that look like? So we are looking at, now we're looking at Tuesday, January 19th, 2021. I will be honest with you, we were originally looking at December 1st as that potential return, but with the recent, I'll say spike that we were seeing in Adams County, what we've been seeing here in school, I've sent, whether, you know, if you're part of the district, you probably received at least what, three messages last week from me. And so, you know, part of our apprehension right now, and we know where people stand on this, part of our apprehension is as we move forward, we also have to rewrite that health plan for our district. And we can no longer guarantee 6 feet of separation in those classrooms at CVIS with that many kids. The best we can do is 3 feet at the most. So what does that mean if we go back face to face and, you know, only 3 feet? That means mask breaks are going to have to be well designed and planned. when they happen and how they happen. They'll have to create a lunch schedule that has some of the kids eating in classrooms, some in the cafeteria, the switching days. Lockers will need to be used, which will then be enhanced cleaning that needs to happen to the lockers because they'll need to be sprayed down daily. There's a lot that goes into this planning, and kudos to Dr. Perry, Dr. Armacost, Dr. Corbin, Dr. Seif. I know Mrs. Sprinkle sat in with us also, and Mrs. Viking did with transportation. So we would still keep the half-hour early dismissals. One of the things that we talked about was, will the hybrid model still be offered? And we will not offer a hybrid model K through 6 if we go back full-on instruction. So parents will have to make a choice about sending their child to school full, or if not, what would be those options? And we looked at, obviously, we could look at CVOA depending on availability. And because if some of those kids from CVOA come back to us full time, that opens spots up. Obviously, there's Lincoln Edge, there's other cyber charter schools which we don't promote, but I mean, at the same time, we need to make sure that our parents that don't want to send a child back have an option, and homeschool is always an option for a parent to pursue also. Transportation-wise, it would mean that we are 2 to 3 students per seat, every seat. So masks obviously would have to be worn at all times on that bus ride to and fro, because we would not have that option being so packed on the buses. It would be back to about 48 on a bus again. Right now we're probably about 24 on a bus, and we have room to separate people. We talked about meals. We talked about the other big piece that is a possibility is if we go back full time, we have to look at class size. And that means some students may have to switch their classrooms midway through a year, with the fact that, if we want to maintain 23 to 24 in a class, we can't have one class having 28, another class having 20. We would have to even out those numbers, which means someone has to move. That's a possibility. No one wants that because we know it's not great for kids to switch. But if it means us going back to a full face-to-face instruction, that is one of the sacrifices we are going to have to make, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's already other schools doing that.
What's that? Yes, there are a lot of schools doing that right now.
But did this change from before? Because didn't we say before, like, we felt like most of it was going to be doable with no problem?
Well, no, I say no problem in the sense that there's no problem bringing kids back. The problem is we got to be willing to sacrifice the health plan in the sense of 3 feet. Yeah. People need to realize like the mask has to be worn then with 3 feet. The other reality is, we put this down here. The other thing is that we would push back the start of the school day by 20 minutes. So instead of kids being at 8:30, we would start school at 8:50 for CVIS. That would allow our buses to get in, and also some of it was with planning and prep time for teachers. We could put all their planning and prep right away in the morning from 8:05 to 8:45. And then that way when kids come in, the specials don't need to be 40 plus minutes long. We can make the specials shorter to increase the class time. There were a lot of different things that Dr. Armacost did with that schedule. The other piece that we put in there, it's the last bullet that we have is, please know that, as we decrease the distance between desks and increase the number of students in a confined space, there is that inherent risk of potential exposure to anything. And that, that inherent risk may lead to quarantining individuals, schools, grades. It's tough to say. We've been very fortunate with the Department of Health dealing with them, with all of our cases. And the first thing they always refer back to is the fact that we can guarantee 6 feet. I think what you'll see in a situation like this, good or bad, is you might see us having to close down for 3 days to get in and clean the school and get the kids back.
Rudisil?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I have a question.
Yes.
So this is just for CVIS at this time for the January 19th date?
Right now it is. The nice thing is, and I know where you're going with this, Mrs. Bolton, because I know you're a big advocate of 7 through 12. The nice part is we've done a lot of the thinking process with this plan for CVIS. that can be applied to the other schools. Because the reality is, when we go back 7 through 12, we're going to lose the 6 feet of social distancing anyway within the classrooms, because the class sizes are going to naturally increase. Right now, we have about 12, 15 in a class. They're going to go to 24, 25 in a class. So those numbers are going to increase. The biggest challenge we're going to have probably when you think high school is going to be that transition between classes, because now all of a sudden you're going to have full high school transitioning and walking through those hallways. You hope kids will be responsible. The other piece of it is lunch. Right now, I joke at the high school, when you go into lunch, they do have the triangles set up, but we just had the math courses presented. We didn't have geometry, but I'm amazed when I watch a triangle turn into a square within a matter of minutes. It's just a social nature of kids. They're in a triangle, and there's kids here. Next thing you know, they slide over, and you got yourself a perfect square going on, and they're just having a conversation. And
they're doing it out there.
And there's no harm. There's no ill will. It's just a natural tendency for people to want to talk, not in a triangle, but face to face. And I'll say kudos to our high school administrators and teachers that do the lunch duty. They just say, "Hey kids, triangle," and the kids are like, "Yeah." They move back, and 5 minutes later, they're back together in a square. The issue is going to be just the amount of kids eating lunch. Right now, it is very doable with what we have. That becomes a big challenge of where do we put kids? We thought about setting up more tables in the high school auditorium lobby, where the auditorium is, setting up tables out there to have lunch out there, just because you're going to double the amount of kids that you have at lunch right now. So it will be very tightly packed.
I understand those concerns. I guess one of my big questions is, my son is a sophomore, and that is one of the big years that they look at in terms of college transcripts. And I just wonder, is that going to have any kind of effect on his college transcripts, or?
It shouldn't. I mean, assuming that grades are still good, it won't have have an impact in that sense. No.
Okay.
What about those whose grades are not still good?
Well,
that's one of the things I'm hearing a lot of right now, Dr. Ruda. So.
Mm-hmm. So I know, they're grades are not good. The teachers are supposed to be reaching out to families and to students, trying to figure out what they can do to help. In addition, then, I know they go to what they call the SST team at the high school, the student success team, where they talk about individual kids, and they have the guidance counselors reaching out also to see how they can help them.
Yeah. I understand what she's saying, because my son is an honor student, and he's really been struggling. I mean, he's keeping up, but I tell you, it's been a real big struggle for him.
Yep, and I know it's not just here; it's every school district. We're hearing the same thing. And I think every school district is where we are right now. We're talking about it. We're trying to see what we can do. And every school district along with us the fear is when you eliminate that 6 feet, what happens? Because now the Department of Health is going to be a lot quicker to shut you down versus let you stay open. And is that detrimental to kids to be in school for a week and shut down for 2 weeks, and then in school for a week and shut down for 2 weeks, where they're not doing any hybrid, they're just doing remote learning for 2 weeks? And I can't answer that. I can't answer that. I don't know. But that is a big fear that we have. Is it more disruptive to families and to students to be out of school for 2 weeks, having to quarantine, not because they need to, but because the school needs to for some reason, because the Department of Health tells us that's what we have to do. And that's our biggest fear right now. But I will tell you, after the Thanksgiving break, I will be bringing in the high school and the middle school principals, and we'll be talking the same thing, where it could be a full-on return for everybody January 19th. Like I said, we started with CVIS with the intention of being December 1st, but with everything going on and with all the cases that we had, Dr. Armourcost and myself included, did not feel totally comfortable moving forward with the potential of setting ourselves up for failure right now, with the cold and flu season kicking off right now. Luke, you had a question?
Yeah, when's the switch from the second half of the year in the high school?
January 19th.
Okay.
Yep, so it would be a natural switch if we did it to bring kids in the second half of the year. Now for CDIS, it's not necessarily a natural switch because they're on a trimester.
Yeah.
But that being said, they'll only be maybe 5 weeks into a trimester. And I listen to Melanie and Tara. I don't think parents would be upset if we said January 19th and they knew it was going to happen.
Yeah. I've talked to a couple of students and they've said they would rather make the transition at the beginning of the semester rather than December 1st, even though that was my ideal thought.
Yeah.
But I mean, I understand why.
Yeah. So that also gives our transportation time to make sure that they're fully prepared what that means on a bus now. Elementary kids, yeah, you could fit 2 to 3 comfortably. They're smaller. The high school buses may be a different story with middle school kids on them. Fitting 2 to 3 in, that's a tight squeeze for sure.
Yeah.
Did we get anything?
Oh, go ahead, Melanie.
I was just gonna say, I do agree with the waiting, especially with, as you said, the uptick as well as cold and flu season approaching. So that date sounds great. We will also be able to use Southwestern as a litmus test for that, I believe.
We will, and Hanover.
Yes.
Because Hanover went full October 26th, and I believe Southwestern started this week.
Yes.
And I will say it's interesting as we look at this. I think the good thing too is we start talking about this is we figure with Thanksgiving coming up, there's an opportunity for people to gather.
Yes.
Whether it's good or bad, it's an opportunity for people to gather. So usually what you see is after those gatherings, it's usually about 5 days where if something happens, you see that uptick.
Mm-hmm.
We figure with Christmas break coming, that's another week and a half opportunity for people to gather. They come back in January. If we don't have anything happen in the first 2 weeks of January, then we know we made the right decision to move forward on January 19th. After coming back from a break, we don't have any cases or anything.
Well, it's easier to plan to do it on the 19th and drop back rather than say, oh crap, okay, that's open now.
Yes.
And move fast and screw something up.
So part of what we did with our survey, and I'll share that. Hold on here. Just drop down.
Why are we looking at surveying again when we already?
Well, what we're looking at surveying is, sorry, there's a drop down that keeps popping up here when I try to get into the survey. When we come back to school, right, there's going to be some people that just don't want to come back. And what we're looking at is we're looking at the number that are coming back so we can make sure we have the class sizes equally distributed. So really the survey is very simple. First name, last name, their grade level. Obviously we would add to the grade level, 7 through 12. And then basically we're asking, where are they currently? Are they hybrid? Are they online somewhere? Are we gaining? Like, another piece of it is, and Mr. Kinshu will appreciate this, he's a numbers guy. If we can bring back those outside cyber charter and Lincoln Edge kids, that's money we're putting back in our pocket also, which helps. And then for there, giving them the choice. Yeah, they're going to go full-time face-to-face. They're going to stay where they're at, or they're going to try to enroll in maybe CVOA or something if they don't want to come back. So we're going to still give parents an option to return to us. But if they don't want to, like I said, if there's availability in CVOA, we'll put them in there versus sending them to Lincoln Edge or somewhere else. We're thinking if we gain kids back from CVOA, maybe some of the kids from Lincoln Edge or others will say, I'd rather be at Conewago Valley, and there's openings. Any questions on our return plan?
I like the return plan. I just want to verify. So what I'm hearing you say is that if we have students that are still struggling so much, there really are resources, even on the days when they are at home on their hybrid schedule and don't have another adult or another.
Well, like I said, if the school is recognizing them and following the SST process, they should be reaching out to those kids and those families to offer support.
Okay.
I know there have been some circumstances already where there've been a few kids that have struggled so much that especially at CVIS, that they actually met with the parents and worked out a plan that this child is actually going to come back Monday through Friday, and they'll treat it like almost like a 504 or an IEP plan,
Right.
to have the child come back.
So we don't have that available at the high school level then?
We do, and they've been looking at some certain cases.
Okay,
The other piece of it is they've also reached out to CVOA parents and CVOA parents that their child is struggling with the remote learning through CVOA. They've actually said, all right, come back to hybrid. And that's the second step. So now we've actually taken a few kids out of CVOA per the parent request and per the school.
for the same reason. Okay,
For the same reason, because they were struggling, because they needed to, even if it's 2 days, possibly 3 days of instruction, it was much better than getting none of that face-to-face time.
right. I know, just watching Morgan with like getting merit scholarships and stuff at college, I know how important, and to Tara's earlier point with her having a sophomore, if they are struggling right now, COVID is not going to be taken into account this year. It is going to be a 4-year GPA, and, that's the number they have. So these kids that, like she said, if they're an honor roll student and they aren't this semester, I just want to make sure that we are not, and I know that we're not, don't get me wrong in how this comes across, but I just want to make sure that we're not just allowing them to fail.
No, we're not doing anybody.
And how hard do our parents need to advocate for those students, or, where that comes from?
Yeah, no, I think honestly, like I said, I know the middle school has an SST process, the high school has an SST process. Our CVIS, they get together once a week to review grades of students. And like I said, I know Dr. Armourcost has been in many meetings with CVOA parents, and they're asking, can we please come back? Because technically, when you look at the CVOA, it says you got to finish out the semester. But we wouldn't do that to a kid that's absolutely failing and not succeeding. It's not the right thing to do.
Right. I just want to make sure that I'm not overselling anything, when parents are asking. But I also want to make sure that we're all in the same understanding that there still are kids out there.
Yep. And I would say if parents are reaching out to you, I would encourage them then to reach out to Dr. Bowman at the high school, if it's a high school student, or Mr. Moeller at the middle school, or even Dr. Armourcost at CVIS. Because again, I mean, they can come to you, and that's their sounding board. And I would encourage, then I would also tell them to encourage, again, reach out to the school, because again, with 900 plus students, you know what? We don't want any student falling through.
Well, it also relies on the kid too, because if the kid doesn't want to do it, you can sit there and yell until they're blue in the face, this guy right here, and the kid's still not going to ask questions.
Yes.
Right.
So I think, and that's the key to it. Yes.
Yep.
The bigger key is the parents are involved. If the parents are involved, they're going to, they're still going to try, whether they're yelling at them or not, they're still going to try to, to encourage them to do whatever it needs to take. And if that means coming back, that is a good thing. What about the kids that only has a half a parent and things like that are slipping through the cracks?
Well, again, that's where that SST team. I mean, the counselors know I will say, counselors know their kids. They know their family situations, and they're well aware. And I know every Monday morning, Dr. Bowman's not available because he's in an SST meeting from 8 o'clock until usually about 11. And they're literally talking about kids, and they look over progress reports, and they're finding those kids that are failing, and they bring them up and they start talking. They say, all right, let's look at home life. Let's look at this. Let's look at this situation. And some of the kids are hybrid. Some of them, are IEP kids that are here every day. Some are even CVOA that they're showing up. They're saying, look, they're not succeeding. We need to do something. So that they're starting to try to create plans, and part of that plan is reaching out to that student to bring them in, especially at the high school level, to talk to them to figure out what they can do to help them be successful.
To build off of Melanie's point that she was saying, about how you had said that counselors are monitoring students' grades that are suffering. I will tell you that my son's grades are still doing pretty well, but that's because I work with him a lot to get him where he is, and he struggles. And I just feel that, I'm very fortunate because I have the ability to do that. But I will say that I reached out to Dr. Corbin about some of the concerns that I had for him. And she actually said his grades are doing really well. But I will tell you, she was a very big help for that. Talked to him and helped work out some plans for that. So
Perfect.
I will say that they are trying to do what they can. So I just feel fortunate that I'm home, and I just sympathize for the parents that may not have that ability to be home to work with their children.
Those are definitely the ones that have come to me because they're looking for an outlet. They're looking for an alternative since they can't be there. Just kind of, I guess they're hoping that I can walk into this meeting and say, hey, can we just let kids that don't have an IEP back? And I know that is not anywhere near my purview, but I just wanted to make sure that these folks are having a voice and, making sure that we're doing everything we can. So.
And we are, like I said, and I would encourage those parents, like I said, to reach out to administration so that.
Yep, that's what I'll have them do. Perfect.
Okay. I want to make you aware of some of the changes that we're doing to our website. So when you go to the district tab now, you don't have a drop-down menu that goes off the screen anymore. So we made it, we're cleaning it up. There's a COVID-19 section that takes you to everything that we've done. We're creating annual reports now. Mrs. Beans is on that right now. It's not ready yet, but that will have our budget, number of students we have, free and reduced, athletics, transportation, everything on it. That'll be new for us, but if you check around other districts, they always have an annual report every year. We were one of the few that didn't. We ran it through our school newsletter, but we felt it also should be available online for the public to access. So that will be coming soon.
I was asked by someone if our school board agenda was posted prior to the school board meetings.
I believe it is.
Okay.
It has to be. Yep. So I'll get to that.
Okay.
We have our comprehensive plan you can access, district calendar, foundation for education, homelessness with McKinney-Vito. We have a new tab now, superintendent tab. So if people want to know about me, they can click the superintendent tab. Right, there's a picture that will guarantee to scare you right now. And then from there, and also has my email address. It has on there the evaluation tool that you guys use, and it also has the goals that the board set forth. So if people want to know what I'm doing and who I am, they have easy access to it now. Title IX is also available there, and then there's a contact us page. The buildings have stayed the same. There's a new tab now. Instead of departments, it's called district services. And district services, we have a business and finance that Mrs. Duncan is going to be trained on, and she's going to set up that will post our budgets from every year, the presentations that she does, so that the public has access to those. We have a central registration button, communications. If people are interested in branding, we have that along with our district newsletter. Dr. Perry's page will be the curriculum instruction page. Facilities and grounds, food services, health services, homeschool, human resources, school counseling, special education, technology, and transportation. And each person in district office is responsible for that page and updating it and keeping it current. So this is all new. We're just trying to make this a little bit more user-friendly for our public. So if they come to check what we're about, they understand where to go. School board right here. Here's your board agendas. Here's your board minutes. Here's your board policies. So if you click board agendas, Mrs. Beans usually posts those. And there's the October 2020. She'll have the November one up for next week on the day that you guys, I believe she sent it out usually Friday.
Yeah.
and she usually has it posted by Monday morning.
Or Thursday, she's not gonna be in Friday.
Yes.
It's well,
She's always
well
very
ahead
good
of
about it.
our meeting.
We narrowed down the athletics page. The athletics page was way too long, the tab. So now it's very short. One takes you to the athletic main page, general information. For those parents that don't want to go and look through the main page, there's a link directly to the live stream now for those parents. There's also a link to all the venue and policies we have in place for athletics. There's also a link that goes to public track access, so that people can see what, when the track is available and how to use it properly, along with a couple other different things. Student tab right now is quite long. We're going to shorten that up here in a bit. That first tab, which is called Digital Learning Resources, is going to be one that will take you to a brand new site that we're developing, Google Sites, that will have everything that you see listed there, easier to use format for the students. We also then are going to do the same with the parent page and add a digital learning resource for the parents so they can access that also and understand it. The staff page has pretty much stayed the same. And the only other new tab right now that you see is on the far right-hand side. You're looking at it, and that's the employment tab. Now people don't have to try to search to see what we have open. If we have jobs, they can click on the employment tab, and it takes you right to any openings that we have: professional, administrative, and support staff. So I'll just say thank you to Linda Swift and to Lori Beans for all their work with this, and to my administrative team for their willingness to step up and help me out in this process of trying to clean it up, to make sure any potential people that might want to move into the district know what we're about, and anybody that's in the district, I want to be as transparent as I can with anyone in our district so that they know what they're looking at.
Chris, is there any information on ACTI on our website?
No, not yet. I guess, are you telling me I need to put a text?
I'm not telling you anything, just as you're going through the students or the buildings, it may.
Buildings, we could probably put an ACTI tab and have it link right to ACTI. That's something that's an easy process to do.
It's linked through the high school.
It is linked through the high school, but to I guess Mr. Kinshew's point, we could probably have it down here under buildings, ACTI or Adams County Technical Institute, and people can click that and go right to their website.
I'll make sure that Sean knows that, we need to update, he needs to keep it updated so that anybody that asks.
Yeah, we worked through that as part of the course selection. Well, so that book that came to you for approval in May,
right,
for this upcoming school year, all of that information in collaboration with ACTI was updated.
Okay, yeah, because one of the the feedback we got, I'll say, is that it's not advertised, if you will.
Yes, we'll do our part.
We discussed that last Wednesday. Believe me, that was well discussed.
Yeah. So, also for my report tonight, board meetings, hard to believe, but we're looking at 2021. So there is a calendar that will be shared this week with you that we'll vote on next week so that you have a chance to look. But what we'll look to do is continue with our Mondays, January 4th being the whole, the committee of the whole, and then regular public meeting being Monday, January 11th. And we'll continue that. And then for the board to discuss is, do we want to set a date in July, or do we just want to play it by ear? If we need to have one, we'll have one. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. It just depends on the situation, where we're at, and what's going on. So just something to think about. We have a finance meeting January 4th at 5:30. Mrs. Duncan will present a preliminary kind of roundabout idea of what a budget may look like. And we'll look to do our personnel meeting March 1st at 5:30 to talk about potential positions and retirements and everything else going on. Any questions with the calendar? I know Luke and Ed, I don't believe you actually have the calendar in front of you, but I know if you're on the Zoom session, you can see it right now that my screen is shared. Okay. Last thing I'd like to do, and then we'll go into a personnel session, is with the board's blessing, I'd like to move forward with our demographic study. The contract that was presented is for 3 years, and the total is $11,750. That's a one-time fee for 3 years of service by this company. They presented to us back in, it was probably almost a year ago, I guess, wasn't it, when we started talking about this, or somewhere, maybe it was March, this insight. And I think right now I'm getting a lot of paperwork thrown at me from different townships with potential builds. I know I've shared all that with you, with the board, so you're aware of potential developments coming in. Right now, we know of one that may be coming in on Edgegrove and Oxford. I believe it was Oxford, right?
Well, I was told that from the Clark building all the way to the mines was at one time was approved 20 years ago.
Yes.
Now the people are acting on it.
Yes.
So we have the potential of that whole thing turning into its own little town.
Yes.
I thought that's where the bypass was going.
Well, I think that's their way around the bypass.
No, okay.
That's the only way they're going to stop the bypass.
Yeah.
Is to develop it.
The other piece of it is, I know that I guess the plans are preliminarily approved to move forward with the land across from South Retreat. And I think if I read it correctly, and I think I sent to you guys, I think it was like 67 single homes and almost over 200 townhomes. They were looking to add 285. There you go.
They broke land a little ways behind Food Lion just this past week.
Yeah. And I also know the Mern Farm is 89 homes.
Yep, and that's approved also.
Yes. So I mean, we are whether we have the vacancy sign or not, it's on, and they're building and they're coming, and I'd like to have a better idea of what that true impact is on all of us in the district. And this demographic study will give us a 3, a 5, and a 10-year projection with all these potential land developments, and truly let us know what we need to do. If we need to look at restructuring, redistricting, drawing different lines to send kids to different schools, or if it, I can't even imagine, but if it would mean having to build another building. Those are big decisions, and I don't want to make those decisions without being properly educated and informed to make sure we make the best one for the district.
Chris?
Yes.
Is this the outfit from California?
Yes. Yes, it was.
I can't believe that we can't find somebody closer home here that understands our region better. I mean, it makes no sense to me that we're going clean across the country and all this information has to go out there and come back. I'm sorry. I just throwing up a red flag. That's all.
And that's okay. They're based out of California, but they have offices in Mechanicsburg. They have offices pretty much. They're I'll say not international, but they're national. Their home base is California, okay, but they have offices.
So they do have offices in Mechanicsburg.
Yeah. Yes, and they actually Mechanicsburg used them. And I know the only other local person we had was a gentleman from Carnegie Mellon, I believe. More expensive and definitely not the detail that we get with this company.
That's fine. You did your homework.
So, that's why I went a cheaper route also, and quite frankly, I think an easier to read reports for our public and for our board compared to what we would have gotten from the gentleman from Carnegie Mellon, who is super intelligent, very smart. He would have presented you a packet with not a lot of color, not a lot of you would have had to interpret and read it. I wanted to make it as
Okay.
easy as possible for everybody.
I'm
and
good.
This was a better way to go.
Thank you.
Yep. And then from there, like I said, I think that's really about it. And so what I'll do is I'm going to stop the live session at 8:15 p.m. and we're going to go into executive session, talk personnel.